Yankees have tied their high watermark for the season, now being 9 games above 500. So they had been 9 above 500 on May 23rd. They have now tied that. So it took them a while. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but they are playing pretty good baseball currently. And they've won 7 of their last 8 series. The only series they had lost was that 4-game series at Boston, where at worst they should have split. And they honestly should have won that series, but at worst they should have split. So, they're basically in most games. I really think bringing in Anthony Rizzo, I think, has had a major impact. I mean, we saw it in the Marlins series, and we saw it again in this Orioles series. And what's funny is that the other 2 bigger acquisitions, Joey Gallo has really not done anything yet at the plate. Really, if Rizzo hadn't been here with him, we definitely would hear some more negative Gallo talk. And then also Andrew Heaney, the one lost in the series, he was certainly definitely partially responsible. I mean, the offense didn't do anything, but Heaney did not pitch well. So, but Anthony Rizzo has really just been a difference maker in every which way, and you can see that. So, and it's funny how, again, when I record, how the feeling is different when what you do in that last game of the series. So the Yankees lost the first game here and won the next 2. Whereas if they'd won the first 2 and then lost the last one, then it could be one of those things where, failed to get the sweep, this and that. But you just I had said, you want to go 2 out of 3 or sweep the Orioles, you win 2 out of 3. So, you do what you have to do. Nothing to be overly excited about, but obviously you're not going to complain when you win a series. And they do that here. And the Yankees were hit hard with COVID again. And these were a couple of breakthrough cases where Garrett Cole, and we found out about Garrett Cole and Jordan Montgomery in between games 1 and 2. So game 1 was like a bit of a buzzkill in terms of the fact that they're coming off the sweep against the Marlins. Anthony Rizzo, all these guys making their Yankee debut at the stadium, a lot of buzz going on. And it was really, they didn't play well that night. And there was this cat that ran on the field, which was like probably the best part of the game. Which is pretty funny. It happened late in the game. But what they find out after the game is that Garrett Cole tests positive for COVID. And then they find out the next day that Jordan Montgomery does as well. So no Cole, no Montgomery for a little bit here. So the rotation's taken a hit, especially with Domingo Germán also being placed on the IL. So really the only main guys you have are Taillon. And that's really it, technically speaking. If you want to consider Cortez, but Cortez was about to be taken out of the rotation. He's done well. But just in terms of Taillon's the only kind of mainstay guy left. Right now, your rotation looks like Taillon, Cortez, Heaney, who struggled in his first game as a Yankee, and Luis Gil. We'll talk about Luis Gil, who pitched really well in game 2, and then there really is no 5th guy. So the rotation's a little bit banged up here, but we'll see what happens as they move into the Mariners series. But let's talk about this Orioles series. Game 1, they go up against 2-12 Jorge Lopez, and he had above a 6 ERA. Andrew Heaney, we knew he'd be a bit of a wild card. He has not been that good with the Angels this year. He has some upside. He's got strikeout stuff, but he's a fly ball pitcher at Yankee Stadium, and that's kind of a recipe for disaster. And it ended up being that way. First time through the order, he was good. And then second time through the order, he was absolutely dreadful, giving up 4 home runs, which tied a record, I think, for a Yankee debut, I believe was the stat. I think it tied a record. And it was either by itself or it tied it for 4 home runs in his first start with the Yanks. So not what you want to see there. Definitely not. And, we'll see how he does against the Mariners coming up, a team that he's very accustomed to, having pitched in the AL West for so many years. So that could be good or bad. I'm not really too sure. But in this one, you would get also Gio Urshela was placed on the IL with that hamstring issue. So not ideal there either. So what you had this series was LeMahieu at second. So he's back in there, but still can't play third. And Rougned Odor made his first starts of his career at third base. So that seems to be the move right now. But, in this one, just a listless, lifeless effort for the Yankees. And Heaney had done well the first couple of innings. Then in the top of the third, while Cedric Mullins is up, and Cedric Mullins is just a great player. Really, Baltimore's got a keeper there. Mullins is awesome. And it sucks that he's in the division. But there was a play in foul territory that Odor, maybe a more seasoned third baseman, would make that play. Odor couldn't. So it extends the at-bat, and Cedric Mullins homers, and then Austin Hayes homers. So it's back-to-back home runs and solo shots, and it makes it 2-0. And then in the fourth, those problems would continue for Heaney. Solo shot for Mountcastle, then a pop out, and then another solo shot for Ramon Urias. So 4 solo home runs against Heaney in 4 innings. So not good, not acceptable, and we'll see. We'll see, because he is susceptible to the home run ball at a Yankee Stadium. That could be an issue. Really might. And they're going to need him now with all these rotation guys that are either out because of COVID or injury. But so Joely Rodriguez would pitch the top of the 5th, and it would, he would get into some trouble, but he would get out of it. And then in the bottom of the 5th, it would be a Gleyber Torres walk, a Brett Gardner walk, and then LeMahieu lines out to center, which moves Gleyber to third. So first and third, 1 out, and then Anthony Rizzo gets a sac fly. Opposite field sac fly. Rizzo, it's a team record. He has 6 RBIs. In his first 6 games as a Yankee, he has an RBI in each game, which is a record. So a Yankee record. So pretty remarkable. We'll see if, to start the Mariners series, if he can continue this RBI streak. But he would get the lone RBI in this one, and then Judge would strike out. So it's 4-1. And then in the top of the 6th, Joely Rodriguez would give up a couple of runs. Santander gets a single, then Urias walks. There's a wild pitch, then a sac fly by Pedro Severino, and then another sac fly from Maikel Franco. So he wasn't hit overly hard, Rodriguez, but certainly couldn't get the strikeout at any point and gives up a couple of runs, and that makes it 6-1. Joey Gallo gets a double to start the 6th, but nothing comes of it. And Gallo, that's kind of been it. He's had a couple of doubles, but otherwise, and walks here and there, but it's been a disappointment at the plate for Gallo so far. And I got to be honest, I'm not overly surprised by that. He is an extremely streaky hitter. He's kind of the anti-Rizzo in some ways, except both of them do have a pretty good eye. Gallo, though, is susceptible to a lot of strikeouts. Lucas Licky pitches a good 7th. Yankees have a chance in the bottom of the 7th against Cesar Valdez. Again, it's the Torres-Gardner combo. Torres single, Gardner walk, but then DJ LeMahieu, who eventually in the series would turn it around. But to this point, it was frustrating. LeMahieu grounds into a double play there, which he couldn't have. And then Rizzo strikes out as they bring in the lefty to face Rizzo. So it stays at 6-1. That would be about it. Top of the 8th, Albert Abreu comes in, gives up a run. And that's all. Again, a cat runs on the field, which was pretty, and it took a long time for them to get the cat off the field. But the Orioles win it 7-1, and not good. A really bad opening game for the Yanks. But they were able to turn it around, and Luis Gil in Game 2 was magnificent. He would go up against lefty Alexander Wells, but Luis Gil really looked great. He is one of their top prospects. They acquired him in 2018 from the Twins for Jake Cave. I mean, that seems like a great deal. Cave, kind of a depth outfielder, and Gil, a younger, high upside type pitcher. He throws, a lot of heat. And what was interesting too was this was 3 guys making their debut. Steven Ridings would come in to relieve Luis Gil, and Ridings, a Long Island kid, I believe from Comac, looked amazing. I mean, he was throwing, triple digits. He struck out the side. I mean, who the hell knows? I'd never heard of him. He had been released from other organizations, but he's had really good numbers this year in the minors, and he looked really fantastic. And then Brady Coroner pitched a couple of innings, did give up a run, but, relatively, did all right. It was a blowout. I mean, the Yankees completely crushed him in this game, so perfect situation to get those guys in there. But yeah, Luis Gil would be sent down after this game. He will pitch the Mariners series, and the Yankees actually claimed Jonathan Davis, a speedster, pinch runner, kind of outfielder type of guy from the Blue Jays, and he would be on the active roster for the last game, would actually get a base hit. Yeah, but in Game 2, the Yankees would get it going pretty early, bottom of the 2nd, and keep in mind, Gil is really cruising. Like I said, throws 6 scoreless innings. And in the 2nd, it was a 2-out rally. Sanchez single and an RBI double by Torres. That would make it 1-0. Then in the bottom of the 3rd is really when things get going. Greg Allen, who would start against the lefty. It seems like Gardner versus righties, Allen versus lefties kind of seems to be what might be going on. And then after the Allen hit by pitch, it's an RBI double for LeMahieu, a RBI single for Rizzo, a single by Judge, RBI single by Stanton. Then after Gallo strikes out, you get an RBI double from Sanchez and a sac fly from Gleyber Torres after Alexander Wells got taken out. So the Yankees, really, that's a great inning. That's where you're stringing a lot of hits together, and you'd like to see that more from the Yankees. They're really just passing the baton, and really good stuff there. So that made it 6-0. And then we moved to the bottom of the fourth where, look, it was a blowout, but Giancarlo Stanton would hit a 3-run homer to make it 9-0. Opposite field homer. He's been struggling badly lately, so it's good to see maybe some signs of life. Again, not a big spot, but that makes it 9-0. Like I said, Heel pitches those great 6 innings. Ridings pitches a filthy 7th. In the 8th, Corner would give up an RBI double to Ryan Mountcastle. In the bottom of the 8th, you would get Tyler Wade would eventually come in for LeMahieu. He would get a 2-run double, which is rare to see Wade do anything, but of course it was a blowout game. Anthony Rizzo with an RBI grand out, and then Aaron Judge, another guy who's been kind of hit or miss since he's come back from COVID. He would get a solo homer, his 22nd homer of the season, to make it 13-1. So, easy win for the Yankees, and the Yankees really there's not enough of that from the Yankees to get sort of, those wins where you can kind of rest the pen a bit. It's good to see. And they would kind of this third game was closer, but the final score wasn't. And this would be Matt Harvey, who pitched well against the Yankees earlier in the season. And Matt Harvey's actually been better lately, and he pitched okay. He is what he is at this point in his career. And it was against Jameson Taillon, who continues to be really, really good. He didn't get the win in this one. He get the no decision, but Taillon would have 10 strikeouts in 6 1/3 innings, 2 earned runs. Just really good stuff from Taillon, who is, has his ear right now like at almost 4 flat. And it had been sitting in the 5s for a while. So he's really pitching well, and it's great to see. He's battled so much that it's a good story. But in the first, he would run into some problems. Wasn't overly hard, and his defense kind of failed him a bit. Cedric Mullins gets a single to start it out, and then Urias gets a single to left, and Joey Gallo, who normally is a good fielder, bobbles the ball, and so Mullins is running on the play. He was going to get to third regardless, and it ends up being a mess where Urias makes it to second, where that shouldn't have happened. So that Urias would eventually score, and that would be an unearned run. So if Gallo doesn't make that error, it probably ends up being 1-0, not 2-0 after this inning. So Mountcastle eventually gets a sac fly, and Austin Hayes gets a bloop RBI single to make it 2-0. In the first of note, Anthony Rizzo works a 13-pitch at-bat walk. Just things that you don't see from this Yankee club, or I guess it's in general, right? A 13-pitch at-bat is rare, but it was impressive to see, and he drew a walk. Of course, classic Yankees this year. Judge grounds a double play right after that. So nothing really comes of it. But eventually in the bottom, so in the top of the fourth, Mountcastle would hit a solo homer. A classic Yankee Stadium homer, just clears the fence in right field, and that would make it 3-0 Baltimore. In the bottom of the fourth, though, Rizzo gets it going. And this would be off of Harvey, a solo shot for Anthony Rizzo, no doubter. And then Judge gets a bloop single. It was a lucky hit. The Orioles are not a great fielding team. And then eventually, with 2 outs, Giancarlo Stanton would walk. So you have first and second, and a big RBI single for Gleyber Torres. Opposite field RBI single for Torres makes it 3-2, and that would be it for Harvey. He would pitch the 4 innings, and that would be it. The Orioles bring in Cesar Valdez and Kyle Higashioka, who started in this game. He hasn't really gotten much work lately, but Higashioka gets a leadoff double. Then Gardner grounds out and gets him over, which was good to see. And then LeMahieu gets an RBI single, which is, tonight was a little bit more of the old LeMahieu. And it was a little bit of luck, too. He was finding holes, but, you'll take it every time. So that would tie it up at 3, that LeMahieu single. Then in the top of the 7th, with 1 out, Taillon gets his first walk. It would be DJ Stewart, and that would be it for Taillon. A great night for Jameson, like I said. And they bring in Loaisiga, who, it makes sense. He's a guy that gets ground balls, double play type pitcher. He would give up a single to Pedro Severino, and then he gets the double play on Maikel Franco. Loaisiga would eventually get his 8th win because in the bottom of the 7th, they would get the job done, which was nice to see. Kyle Higashioka gets leadoff walk. Higashioka is not one to walk in the first place, and you don't want to do that. That was against Cole Sulser. Jonathan Davis pinch runs for Higashioka. So naturally, what makes sense, since he's out of the game anyway, they bring in the lefty to face Gardner, which was a little bit weird because just the way that the lineup worked out. And this is where the Yankee, righty-lefty stuff kind of comes into play more now, where there's a little bit more balance and it's tougher for opposing teams to manage it. But Sanchez pinch hits for Gardner, and Sanchez would walk as well. So Davis moves to second, Sanchez goes to first. And DJ LeMahieu up the middle. It wasn't hit overly hard. It wasn't, but it's an RBI single for LeMahieu, gives the Yankees a 4-3 lead, which they would never lose. Rizzo, surprisingly, doesn't get the job done. He would make contact, fly out to left, but it wasn't deep enough. Then they bring in the righty Dylan Tate for the lefty Fry. Judge strikes out, and then so he doesn't get the job done. Although the little bit of a rough at bat for Judge in terms of what was being called strikes. And then Gallo walks. So it's bases loaded, and Giancarlo Stanton, as he's done, it wasn't overly hard, but it was kind of an opposite field dunker, 3-run double. And give Joey Gallo credit from scoring from first very easily. I will say this about Gallo: great hustle. He will hustle every single play. So that makes it 7-3. Big 3-run double for Stanton. Again, a lot of this wasn't pretty, but it's again, when you put the ball in play, good things can happen. And Gleyber Torres would then get an RBI double and make it 8-3. And then in the eighth, another new Yankee, Clay Holmes, would come on, pitch a scoreless inning. In that inning, Aaron Judge made a really nice play, throwing Cedric Mullins out, who was trying to get a double. Just effortless throw right on the line, and it was and he gets him out. Then in the bottom of the eighth, Jonathan Davis, his first at bat as a Yankee, gets a single. Then Gary Sanchez would single as well. Then you would get a 2-run double for DJ LeMahieu. Three hit night for LeMahieu with a couple of not a couple of doubles, but 4 RBIs for LeMahieu. And so that would make it 10-3. Then in the ninth, Albert Abreu pitches a 1-2-3, and it's a series win for the Yanks. Also, what just came out is that Greg Allen has been returned to AAA. So I guess with Jonathan Davis coming in, I suppose that would be the reason why Greg Allen would be sent down. I'm a little bit surprised. I'm not up in arms by it, but a little bit surprised. But I guess Jonathan Davis might have taken that role, or maybe because of the fact that, maybe this also means that Stan can play some outfield and you move Judge to center, things like that. So Greg Allen's role was being a little bit diminished, although, like I said, he did play in game 2. So we'll see what comes of that. I think we might see Greg Allen again. I think he did a good job, but he has been sent down, and we'll see what the corresponding move to that is. But yeah, as far as this 4-game series with Seattle, who's also in the wild card race, they're coming off a series win at Tampa, which is impressive. I personally don't believe this Mariner team will be there when it's all said and done at the end. But look, they're 58-51, and the Yankees are 58-49. So Mariners are a game behind the Yankees. This is standings wise, wild card wise. This is a big series. So it'll be the lefty Tyler Anderson, who was acquired at the deadline from the Pirates, against a former Mariner. He was on the Mariners last year, Nestor Cortez. So battle of lefties in game 1. Game 2, it'll be another lefty for Seattle, Marco Gonzalez, who struggled this year against TBD. We really have no idea who it'll be. I'm not even going to guess. It could be anything. Game 3 will feature Chris Flexen, who's a former Met, who's actually had a very good season, against the lefty Andrew Heaney. And Andrew Heaney needs to bounce back after his poor outing. And then game 4, a lot of lefties in this series. UC Kikuchi, who has had a good season. I think he struggled lately, and that might have started with that Yankee outing in Seattle. So the Yankees got to him there against Luis Gil. Yeah, a lot of lefties kind of on both sides here. But this is a series where if the pitching was more in line, I would say like 3 out of 4 would really be what you're gunning for 3 out of 4. Look, 4-game sweeps are really tough to get, so that's not even on the radar for me. Normally, I would be upset if they split the 4-game set, but considering where the state of the rotation is at right here, it's not the end of the world. But really, yeah, the sweet spot here, either way, is to win 3 out of 4 against the Seattle team, who they won the series in Seattle, and I think they can do it if they can get good enough pitching. Hopefully, the offense can continue this good momentum that they're on right now. But we'll see. Again, another Yankee series win. 9 games above 500. We'll see if they can finally get to double digits above 500 as they take on the Mariners to finish off this homestand at the Bronx.